Well, it's that time of year again. Time for my semi-annual spring garden report video. Almost everything is planted. It's May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I wanted to do this about 15 minutes ago, but I had to wait for the neighbor to get her kids on the bus, and that's not a quiet prospect, so I had to give that a few minutes so you guys could hear me because I don't like shouting. We'll go ahead and get started with actually probably just a quick once over shot of the pollinator beds. We've got plenty of perennials up, which is nice, and we'll have the zinnias and the marigolds going soon in there. And then to my tomato bed, making full use of our little suburban plot here. Put the sunflowers in the back. Those were all volunteer sunflowers this year. The one in the middle came up right where it was, but all the rest of them in the back because they're all sunflowers. And there'll be shades of red and yellow, I think. Those all came up voluntarily, and then I just relocated them there so they could be tidy. And then I put in some tomatoes from seed right in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, the big ones. And of course there's some little ones in between that have all come up, including this little green patch down here by the rake. Those were all volunteers, but I'm not sure how many of those I'm actually going to keep. These 4 patches of green in the front are salvia. And I had one right here, and you see that little trench that I grew, or that I've dug there. That was a salvia that did not overwinter, it died. So I actually put some rosemary seeds in there. We'll see what happens. They're old, so they may not germinate. Alright, let's come on over to the little mini homestead we got going. This is my lavender. I've also put those rosemary seeds in there, so we'll see what happens there as well. And I've got this space here. I'll probably tuck something in, but I don't know what. It's possible I'll just move this pot to that spot, because it kind of blocks the way once things really get growing. It blocks the walkway from the cars when we come home. So we've got some succession planting happening in here. Lucas and Laurel planted some lettuce for us that came up already, and it's only been maybe 4 or 5 days. See these little guys here? So on one side we have Boston Bib, and on the other side is black-seeded Simpson. And they're in a ring. They decided they wanted to do row planting. This little guy here and his friend there, okra. That's the Clemson spineless. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's an extra friend for some reason. These are, I think these are golden honeydew. And these are going to be kind of fun because I actually collected those seeds from a delicious melon that we bought from Walmart. So these are my attempt at something I bought at the grocery store, and we'll see if it can replicate itself. I've got a few experiments this year. Okay, here's my next bed. So we've got another okra, and in the center is a collection of rainbow and Ford Hook chard. And then on the other side we have Athena cantaloupe. Those were also seeds that I collected, the Athena cantaloupe and the okra. Those were all seeds that I collected. The greens, I bought new seed packets this year because I just ran out. I'm not as good at collecting the seeds from the greens. Behind there, actually, this is a broccoli that went to seed. It's a broccoli that planted itself, and then I let it go to seed. And now it's covered in seed pods, and I don't want them, so I'll probably rip it out. But it just is kind of neat. And we're enjoying the amazing nature of it. Alright, onward. Done a lot of moving things around because we had a lot of great overwintering this year, especially with the herbs of the parsley and the oregano. So this is mostly an herb bed. And we've got parsley and parsley and parsley, and those overwintered in here. I covered the whole thing with a arch and some plastic. I'm sure my neighbors were thrilled. Since I've taken that off, I've put on Put in some dill. This is, I think, a cantaloupe. No, wait, that's a cucumber. It's a cucumber and a couple of bell peppers. We'll see how those go. I have terrible luck with peppers. Generally, they grow and then they don't produce. Get some onions. And then my oregano is doing great. It's coming back strong. I've already harvested out of the center. I'll probably pull more out from around the edge. Probably would have been a better way to do that. And then in the back we have some strawberries. And those were in there all winter as well. So we'll see how they produce. They flowered. So I'm looking for fruit now. Flowers are done. And then here's a pot of just basically herbs that I put together in a hopefully aesthetically pleasing fashion. I don't know, that was kind of my goal. I thought they were pretty. And the thyme is spilling over. This is lemon thyme in the middle, which smells wonderful. It's kind of almost soapy in the way that it smells, I think. I tried cooking with it and was pleased. I didn't think it would turn out great. I thought it might change things to kind of that kind of soapy taste, but it didn't. It was pleasant. And, mostly just herby. The lemon didn't really come through strongly, but it really comes through strongly when you touch it fresh. I have some snapdragons in the back that overwintered. And then we got some volunteers in here that are probably sunflowers, so they're going to have to go. They can't coexist in here. I don't want them in there. It would be a terrible location for the garden. Also, I'd have enough. But I've got more parsley, and these on the ends are thyme, and then lemon thyme in the middle. I'll go to the next bed. These are almost entire. This whole bed is almost entirely experimental stuff for me. I've never grown Brussels sprouts before, and that's what all of these are in the L shape here. In between, you see there's little divots. Those are where Laurel and I planted beans and corn together because she really wanted to do a Three Sisters garden. Of course, I have 3 girls, and they would have, all had their own little place in that, but we ended up doing 2 sisters instead of 3 because we can't grow squash here because the squash bugs make me hate gardening, so I just don't grow squash anymore. But along the edge here in these little plants are cucumbers, and there's, I think, a watermelon tucked in over there, and possibly another watermelon over there for some successional planting, because these Brussels sprouts will have run their course or been destroyed by the time the cucumbers and the watermelon get going, because the growing season's about to be in full force here. In this far corner, we have a variety of peppers. These are the same that we had in the other bed, but I only have 4 here, and they're supposed to be giant bell peppers. We'll see. Bell peppers don't tend to thrive in my garden much. I'm not sure if I'm doing something wrong. I haven't learned well enough about how to take care of them, so I'm just trying to give them more root space this year. I've put them in pots before, and I'm suspecting that's why they did not thrive. They'll grow great big plants and then make nothing. And since I have plenty of pollinators in my garden, I'm suspecting it's the pots. So I'm going to give them a little more root space and freedom to grow this year. All of these pots, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then there's one over there behind the fig, 5, have the same planting, and it's a sun gold cherry tomato surrounded by Thai basil, because that's some of our favorites. Now, I would grow the sweet basil, but none of the sweet basil seed came up this year, which is kind of a surprise for me. I usually have great success with that, but then again, I think the seeds were old, so then the Thai basil seeds were pretty much fresh from last year. These 2 pots have lavender in the center, my perennial lavender that it just really produces great for me every year, and I love lavender flowers, and I cook with them, and I use them in other things because they smell wonderful. And I got a few more herbs. There's some tarragon and some parsley, and that's one of the only African marigolds that actually took in my seed starting beds, at least on the first round. I have another round coming that did better, but that was the only one out of maybe 20 seeds that actually sprouted, so I'll call that user error. I probably didn't store my seeds well. This is another Two Sisters garden, since I don't grow squash or pumpkins or anything like in the squash family. And Laurel and I put in corn and beans. This is our first year growing corn. And here they are, coming up. It's eating corn. I think we've got like Silver Queen and some kind of yellow bicolor eating corn. I can't remember. And the beans are coming up strong. So I'm excited to see how these come through. That's only this front half of the garden. Back there, I've got okra. These little guys, okra, and then I've got 2 Charleston gray watermelons. I planted them really far apart because they love to sprawl, and I'm gonna have to put a cage up and everything for them and try to get them to go vertically. I did some successional planting in here, and in between all of those, some lettuce should be coming up, and it'll be a couple weeks behind the lettuce we planted a couple weeks ago, which I think I may have told you guys the wrong timing on that. This was the one that I planted a few days ago. The other one I think they had planted a couple weeks ago. And that's this bed. These pots. And this one is this one's going with the sprinkler because I don't have all the irrigation in, which I guess I could talk about that too. It's got some chives on the left there, and they have been absolutely beautiful. I was really impressed with their blooms this year, and I know that the bees love them, so that's going to be exciting. On the far right here, those raspberry canes that I got for free from a friend, and I'm excited to see how those go. And eventually I'm expecting them to take over the whole bed. And that's fine with me, because raspberries are expensive, and we love them. We've got one of those Sun Gold, I believe it's Sun Gold, we'll see what happens, cherry tomatoes that overwintered in the greenhouse. I started them back in the fall, and then I overwintered them in the greenhouse. They almost died several times. That's what's in here, and then all those pots, like I said, and in the front garden bed. I had aphids in the greenhouse. I had to import ladybugs and spray them with not the ladybugs, spray the aphids with the soap and everything, and it was kind of a battle, but I did get rid of them mostly. And then when I brought these out, I saw they actually had a few still on them, so I made sure I just crushed them. And hopefully, being out here, they'll have more predation. And I've got cucumbers on the end right here, so this will eventually be a cage, or at least a cattle panel. And I've got some beans on the end, and I'm not sure if those beans are bush beans or not. And then there's some dill, and then there's the chives. I wanted to give the Sun Gold a lot of space because they can get very large. Even if I keep up with the suckers, they can get very large, which is great. They produce a ton, but they'll overcrowd other things, and then you lose out on some other production. So I've learned that. That's good. It can be taught. This bed is a monstrosity of Jerusalem artichokes. There's probably 200 plants in there. I need like 4. 4 plants is more than this space probably could even hold and produce well. Of course, I'm not really concerned about production because you can't really eat them without massive digestive consequences for everyone in our family. So, but they're beautiful. So they're not exactly a priority for me, making sure that they thrive. However, I don't want to introduce disease in the garden either, so I probably will go in here and thin them out. Can't imagine anyone wanting the extras. I'll probably just trash them. This is tansy. I haven't actually done anything with the tansy. I planted it last year, and then the Jerusalem artichokes choked it off like it obscured the sun. You can't probably make it out, but back at the foot of this iris there's some parsley, because this is my butterfly garden, and I was hoping between the tansy and the parsley and there's a whole bunch of other little flowers, and then there's always sunflowers that come up due to the bird feeders. So this is my butterfly garden with the girls. We come out here and make sure we find butterflies, and then we grow them in the butterfly growing enclosure that we have, because we do have a butterfly bush. And these are actually blackberries from a friend of mine that I also got for free. These are thornless, and I have more on the other side of the house, but we put some here because I've got some structure for them, and so we thought that would be fun, and the birds would probably really like them, and maybe they'll come eat these and I can go harvest the others. And this is my sick lilac. This lilac made 30 babies last year, and then after I harvested I took away its babies, it got real sick, and I don't know if it has some sort of blight or what, but it's already run through its flower cycle, and it doesn't it's not going to bloom again. So I'm on the fence about what to do with it. Tempted to just cut it out because I have more lilac. It actually, that's a young one down there. I could just pot up and then replace this one with that because it looks healthy. It's kind of ironic because I gave so many away. Back here is nothing, but I think it's going to be cantaloupe because I have the structure for it to climb, and I have the seedlings that need to be planted. Either Athena or maybe golden honeydew, actually, since we only have a few of those and we love it. You can hear my chickens going crazy. There's my greenhouse and my workspace, which I'm not going to tour because it's a huge disaster because I've been working so much. My chickens are working hard for me. And the fig bush is an absolute monster this year. This is probably the best year I've had with it. This was a gift from my dad. It came from Monticello. And it's brown turkey figs, which my girls absolutely love. And it has some figs on it already, believe it or not. Now last year it got figs this early, and we were excited. And then, freakishly, we had a late frost in May. It was very sad because all the figs just dropped right off. Of course, now I can't find any, but I saw them. They're in here. So that's kind of exciting for us because we do love figs. And they're best fresh, although we do preserve them and we get plenty of hand-me-down figs from my parents. At least in the form of preserves. So that's nice if you like figs. And here's my last pot. And then all of the rest of this is flowers. I did beans last year in there. They didn't do so good. Probably won't do that again. But that's pretty much the extent of the garden. Everything else is for fun and pretties. So I'll be working on getting the porch really pretty soon. It's not had a great winter. There's been a lot of storage and play from the children and all kinds of stuff. So I cleaned it off and it's gotten worse since then, so I'm going to have to do it again. Thanks for the tour attention, you guys, and happy gardening. Bye.